Hey, Dave LeCali with HeadGames Motorworks. Today we're going to do a teardown on Rich Ong's high 7-second 4G63. Check it out. The Rich Ong had an issue, the motor came apart, and he's trying to get ready for World Cup, and we had some damage. Check it out, come over here. So Rich had a CNC port, and as you can see right here and right here, there is some damage from the piston hitting the head. So now we're going to tear it apart and see what we can find. The valve spring is a big contributor to that. We use a Kigley spring kit in this. It's probably the only head that we can use a beehive and make this kind of jam. The valves look beautiful. You see many of my other videos. You've seen me point out valve float, and this is a part of the HeadGames gap assurance. So you use the right valve spring at the right height, and you don't see these problems. So you gotta remember this thing runs like 60, 70 pounds of boost, and there's no valve float, there's no heat all the way up the valve. Everything looks really, really good. And even at the tip of the valve, you can see there's really no valve float. The head just looks so good. I'm very happy. This thing's ready for another 70 hits. As far as the chamber is concerned, I thought that maybe I had a bent valve, and it might. We're going to check valves next. But the chamber, although it's beat in, I don't see really like, I don't know if I'd fix this, because if you to fix this, to get rid of all this, you'd have to weld it, and you have to take all the seats out. And I just don't think it would hurt just running it the way it is. Remember, this is a race car. And the life of this head is not as long as a street car, but really this is kind of cosmetic. Is it going to affect compression? A little bit is not going to affect compression, at least a negligible amount, and we're running so much boost it doesn't really matter. The biggest attribute to this is it's still intact, and we just need to make it work. All right, if you watched during my inspection, I used my mighty finger to say that we probably didn't have to do anything to the cylinder head, and I sent it through the shop, and I didn't, since I did the inspection, I didn't put it down that it needed a weld. Well, as accurate as my finger usually is, I was wrong, and now we have to go backwards. And that's just because I didn't do what I preach, and you know what happens when we do that. I didn't measure. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm pretty mad at myself because I didn't just grab a bridge mic and go over the deck. So you can zero yourself on the flat side of the deck and then bring it in, and you get almost, this there's like 5 thousandths here. And on this side, see we're zeroed, and it goes almost 7 thousandths. The problem with this is the head's already been milled 30 thousandths because the head's been back here a couple times now, and we would be approaching 40 thousandths, which would mean it would be almost a tooth off. There's not that much life left in the head, but we would still like to make a couple more races with it and say it's going to World Cup. The real issue here is that the valve seat has already been cut. So we valve jobbed it, and when you put heat around here, there's a good chance that the heat will go into the valve seat, and then you have to valve job it again, which is not what we're looking to do. It only needs to seal here. This is the fire ring. So the fire ring goes around the gasket like so. So if we weld up to here and up to here, we'd be totally golden, and Rich wouldn't have any issues. So what we'll do is we're gonna weld, well, we'll grind it out, we'll weld it, we'll mill it, and then we're going to check the valve job. We're going to check to make sure it seals. If it doesn't seal, obviously it has to go on the seat and guide machine, or we might even be able to stone it in depending on how far out it is. We're on the mill, and we just milled down most of the weld. We're not very, very close. We're, I don't know, I guess a couple thou. And as you can see, we welded up this area here and this area here. And what we're going to do is we're going to check it with a gasket just to ensure that it's within the fire ring. So the fire ring is this piece right here. You can see this little, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little line there. And we are well within the gasket for where we're welding. And once we mill it, it'll be totally straight. We were able to take off 2000s, and I think we have a really good, see here, I think it looks good. I mean, doesn't look great, but it'll definitely function. I know what you guys are thinking, because there is not the material there for the compression, that this is going to be a problem. Well, there's actually only now 3 thousandths difference between the deck height and the rest of the chamber that's caved in. And really, we're just trying to make it work, and it'll work absolutely correctly. It's a race car. This is not a daily driven car, and this will be just fine. There's a lot worse things that we've done for racing. All right, we're here with Rich. This is the ending of the story. Rich, let me show you what I did. What we did was we saved you some money. The head is almost done. As you can see here, we are close to the end of its life, because this is the wear tab, and the wear tab, once you start hitting that, the head is pretty much done. And it's lived a very long life, and you can also see the valves start coming out of the deck area, so we can't even mill it again without taking the whole head apart. Now this area here, I wanted to save you some money because, well, it just doesn't matter with what we're doing with it, and we just left the chamber like that, and I didn't want to put valve seats in it. If I put valve seats in it, it's going to cost a lot more. Sure, it would be perfect, but it's an imperfect head to begin with, so there's really no reason to go into that realm. So now Rich is ready for WCF and do some boosted beatings.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment below. I'd love to hear from you. What do you want to see next? Toodles.